You are watching Maruti Suzuki presents ESPN Cricinfo Match Day, and if the old adage in cricket is to be believed, then the first hour of any day of a test match is very, very crucial. On that regards, India didn't have the first start that they hoped for. 326 is what Australia managed in 108 overs, but the first hour, as I said, went wicketless. KL Rahul now on the crease. India's already lost a wicket in Murali Vijay. 6 for 1 is where India stand at the moment, and it was that tail once again that wagged for Australia. VVS Laxman, Murali Kartik, Damien Martyn, Melinda Farrell. It's a full house that we have here on ESPN Cricinfo Match Day. Melinda, I'll come across to you. The first star, India went wicketless, but did the pitch really change from that first start and then after that when India got all those wickets?
Well, it looks like maybe the pitch is best to be on that first hour of the day. The conditions in general are so different today. I can't even explain enough how different it feels here today. It's just so much cooler, so much more pleasant. So I think in general, you'd be much happier to be out there for much of today bowling rather than you would have been yesterday. But one thing that was interesting yesterday when India were bowling, the whole day there were 17 balls bowled that would have hit the stumps. Today in that first session there were 15. So that was a huge improvement from India's bowlers for sure, which helped them pick up the tail. So that was something that was obviously really positive for them. But I don't know, it's so hard to say with this pitch. It looked a little bit easier today. I think this might be the day when it will be best for batting, and tomorrow as well. And that's what the Shield game suggested that was played here not so long ago as well.
We're getting reports, Melinda, that it might rain this evening. Is that correct? Or maybe even tomorrow?
Well, there might be a little bit around. Actually, it was raining a bit here last night. The change just came in so quickly. It was like you walked in, turned around, walked out, and it was a different day. So there was a lot of moisture around yesterday. Whether that will increase the humidity. It is very cloudy here today, a lot of high cloud around, and there is a bit of stuff forecast for maybe later today. Tomorrow, whether those storms come in, there were a few around, but we'll see. Either way, I think you'd be pretty happy to be bowling in these conditions, and Australia have definitely got the best of this toss, I think, at this point.
Okay, at the point it does seem like that. VVS, one thing that Melinda mentions there, that this morning was very different to the one that we saw yesterday. It was overcast in that first hour, yet Indians weren't effective. Did they miss an opportunity there?
No. Firstly, I think the wicket plays its best in the morning, because especially when there are cracks around, you roll in the morning, and that effect of the roller will show for the first 1 hour, and as the match progresses, I think the cracks will widen up. But one advantage with probably the Indian batsmen will have, that it's overcast. If it's hot, like it was yesterday, which was 38 to 40 degrees, then invariably because of that heat, I think the cracks will open up a lot more than probably what it will do today. But having said that, I think you have to give credit to the way Tim Paine and Pat Cummins batted. Yes, the Indian bowlers stuck to their task, especially against Pat Cummins. Against Tim Paine, they started bowling the short pitch deliveries, knowing that he's a compulsive bowler. But I thought both of them applied themselves. You can't take away from the Australian tailenders the way they've showed the grit and determination, the way they've applied and scored those important runs. As far as the bowling is concerned, it was much more consistent. So you can't really fault the bowlers for not trying or bowling in areas where they can pick up the wickets.
You can't fault the bowlers, but you could look at what the captain did. Would you have not got someone like a Jasprit Bumrah? I think he only came after the first half play was over.
Look, that's something which we can always discuss. But the thing is that when you're standing there as a captain, you get a gut feel with somebody. Yes, you want to start with the best bowlers or the couple of best bowlers you think in every session. That's what a captain wants to do. But I don't know. It's something which only Virat Kohli can answer. For me, if it's Ishant Sharma or Jasprit Bumrah, you start off with those two because they are your best bowlers in the team. But Ishant did bowl well. And look, you also have to look at it from a very different perspective, that there could have been a few nicks which could have gone India's way. Even this morning, you're playing and missing. You get a glove, it goes to mid-wicket, it doesn't carry to the man. So things like that. So if certain things go your way, then you're on a run. The next man also comes and edges the same ball when people are missing, and everybody starts missing the ball. So it's one of those things. I wouldn't fault them for that.
Would you have gone with Bumrah if you were skipper?
No.
First thing.
I think
in hindsight.
Again, in hindsight, maybe. But again, the luxury which Virat has, it's not to say that it's only Bumrah who was effective yesterday. I thought even Shami was effective, and then Shami bowled well. He didn't get the rewards of what he deserved, and Ishant has been effective. He bowled the third and fourth spell yesterday. So I think you can't say that it would only Bumrah would have opened the bowling this morning, then India would have got those wickets. All four of them are quality bowlers who can pick up wickets. So I think that's a luxury which Virat has.
Okay. Let's
if
go
they would have
across
started with a spinner, then I think we can have the discussion.
I mean, so because you're saying that there's not much
All
to
four of
choose
them
from
can
between
get
the
wickets
four.
early on.
It's just the fact that we're raising the question because the fact that when Bumrah came along, he just looked even more unplayable compared to the rest of the bowlers. Maybe it was because of the conditions, as VVS mentioned, also changed. VVS mentions an interesting thing here. He mentions how the Indian batsmen may be happy that it's overcast because that will not allow the cracks to open up. But then that'd be a catch-22. That will also allow the ball to seam. If you were a batsman, what would you rather have?
Well, it depends on it's going to swing today. I think Stark was obviously that first wicket, but cooler conditions make it probably easier to field in for the bowlers. I mean, we saw yesterday how hot it was, and I think I haven't been in that stadium, but it's closed in that stadium, so I can't imagine much wind coming through. But the swing will go. You're right. So more heat on that wicket would crack up. We saw it play pretty well. It's going to be interesting now. Now it's time for the Indian batsmen to see, well, how are they going to go about it? Is it going to be an attacking format? Are they going to try and leave the ball early and try and get set on this wicket? I'm looking forward to the contest straight after lunch.
All right, let's, the other thing that the Australian team has been doing rather well against India is the tail. It's been wagging for Australia, getting all those runs. Let's take a look at how the top 5 and the bottom 6, or in fact, the top 6 and the bottom 5 have performed for Australia. And I'll just get Murali Kartik on this. Just look at the number of balls that they have been, facing. Balls per dismissal, hardly, 65-46. Yes, there's a difference you'd expect, but it isn't the difference that you expect between tailenders and the top order.
You would expect that the top 6 are averaging around 45-50, and that too for a team like Australia, and not a difference of just 9 runs between the top order and the lower order. Look, that's why they're struggling. You talk about the famed teams of Australia, they were just gun batting sides. They didn't give you anything. Every time you looked at the batting lineup, you would think, oh, do I have to get this guy out, that guy out, and that guy out? Now it's not the case. So possibly for them, tailenders are better batsmen.
Damien, one thing is the average, as Kartik points out. There's not much of a difference in the average. The other thing in that stat is the number of balls faced. So they are actually spending a lot of time on the crease, tiring the opposition bowlers out, and that's playing a crucial role too.
Yes, but just on that, the top 6. Nowadays, remember we had Adam Gilchrist batting 7, so that didn't help those stats because he averaged 50. But I agree with you. The balls. Look at Cummins today. He faced 60 plus balls batting there with Payne, and that's what you need. You need to build partnerships, and the more balls you face, it's more frustrating for the opposition. Keeping India out in the field today, and he did his job. He's shown that in Adelaide as well. He can bat, and then. You've got to offer something. Also, too, you talk about the bottom, we had Jason Gillespie who made a double century. So, it's pretty hard. We have these guys in Australian cricket. Jason Gillespie walks around asking everybody what their highest score is. So, we've got to put up.
And somehow, yes, of course, the tail is performing well. Somehow they end up performing really well against India. Talking about Pat Cummins and the point that Damien was making, that at number 7, they at one point would have Adam Gilchrist, but even Cummins, batting at 7 or 8 that he bats, it still doesn't seem like a tailender. Yes, he's a bowler predominantly, but doesn't look like a tailender when he's batting.
Yeah, I think 2 things. One is he's got the technique. Because as a tailender, whether you talk about Nathan Lyon, you talk about Pat Cummins, for that matter, even Mitchell Stark, they've got the technique. If you don't have the technique, then you'll be exposed, especially on wickets like what we're playing the game at the moment in Perth, or quality bowlers like Bumrah or the Indian pace attack. So they have got the technique, and apart from the technique, they've got the temperament to hang in there. And that's so important. So when the tailenders do the job like the way they did in Adelaide second innings, suddenly it will be infectious, and the top order batsmen will feel our primary skill set is to score runs. So if the tailenders whose primary skill set is to bowl, and which they have done really well, and they are going out and fighting it out, showing the approach which is required to score runs and accumulate runs, it becomes very important for us to occupy the crease and play with a lot more assurance and patience. So I think the credit should be given to the Australian tailenders that they've got the technique, they've been working hard on their game, and those runs are always frustrating for the opposition team, especially when you get the top 5 or 6 wickets early. you think that you will wrap up the entire innings and start batting. But invariably for India, whether you see in South Africa, more so in England when Sam Curran, when India was in a healthy position or a position of strength, suddenly Sam Curran comes and scores an half century, turns the tide towards England. So this has been a problem for India, and we talk about the famed bowling lineup now, but the tailenders have really, created a problem for the Indian bowling lineup. So I think the important thing to realize is they've got the technique, and above that they've got the temperament to do well as a batsman.
Okay, the Indian fast bowlers did rather well. That's the opinion of our two experts here in the studio. But let's see how they performed in terms of the line and the lengths that they were bowling. Kartik, in the meanwhile, I'll ask you when the stats come on, that is the mindset changes when you're bowling to a tail-ender vis-a-vis a top-order batsman? Do you try to do different things?
Yeah, sometimes it can do, because you feel that you've got better batsmen out, so let me try and just knock these people out. And you have to give credit that nowadays people do work, and especially the lower order batsmen do work very hard on their batting, because the contributions are quite vital from them as well. And it's how much you prize your wicket as well. So if you look at what Australia has done, see, somebody like an Ishant doesn't give away his wicket very easily. Even Bumrah doesn't try and throw the bat. So it's about what kind of a value do you put on your wicket, and then as a bowler, do you think that, oh, I've bowled good balls to the batsman, I need to stick with the same. Sooner rather than later, these tailenders are going to edge me or give me a wicket. But if you go chasing wickets, because like Nathan Lyon does play a few shots, if you go chasing wickets against a few people, then there are a flurry of boundaries, you end up giving 30-40 extra runs, and you're thinking, oh, possibly I shouldn't have done that. So that's where I feel India need to stick to what they do best against everyone. Possibly crowd, depending on the kind of batsman, if he's an attacking or a non-attacking batsman, crowd him, make him feel that heat of the bowlers, and possibly then you can prize wickets out. Otherwise, this has been a historical problem for India, not just this team alone. Getting tailenders out has been historical from a very long time. You look at how we dismiss the top six, and then you would always struggle. So it's not something which is new.
But at certain points, you had someone like an Anil Kumble who loved bowling against tail-enders, picking those wickets. That's not happening for India. Insightful from Kartik there, where he talks about having patience when you're bowling to tail-enders. Sometimes bowlers guilty of letting go of that simply because of the fact that you expect the tail-ender to get out, whereas with the top-order batsman, you're bowling to a plan.
Yeah, absolutely. And the discipline which they show when they're bowling to top-order batsmen, I think that discipline or that eagerness to bowl the opposition out quickly will invariably come in the mind of the bowler, and that's when in trying to get wickets they may give some loose deliveries, and that's when the tailenders capitalize on that. And especially with the one-day cricket, T20 cricket progressing the manner it is doing, each and every bowler wants to also contribute with the bat, and their value in the team in any format will go up. So I think every bowler is working on their batting. So I think it's crucial to stick to your game plan and show that patience, what you do when you're bowling to a frontline batsman.
Okay. Let's take a look at the lens that I mentioned a little while earlier of how the Indian pace bowlers had performed on day 2, and it seems like they've been doing rather well this time around. I mean, short of good length. I mean, that's the crucial number there, 53% on good length, and this is something that wasn't happening for the Indian bowlers. And look at the wicket column; it actually tells you which is the best place to bowl. The good length bringing you 3 wickets vis-a-vis 1 that you've got with full length. Damien, did you also notice an improvement in the Indian pace bowlers this morning?
I think that happens after the first day, doesn't it? You go back after that first day's play, assess your bowling, got your bowling coach, talk to the other bowlers, and maybe adjust your lengths. And those stats show it, 53%, 3 wickets today, and then you bowl Australia out. So that happens over a 5-day game, and when they bowl next innings, it might be a different way. There might be different scenarios, different lengths. And more game plans. And I think the crucial thing there is also bowling in partnerships, just like batting. You need that from both ends, building pressure on the batsman to create risk and shots that you get wickets from.
Melinda also mentioned that probably Australia has got the best of the toss. It's too early to say India haven't batted, but would you now tend to agree, looking at the way the pitch is playing?
Too early. The only thing I'll say is that compared to yesterday, there is a lot more juice today. Whatever I saw, it has quickened up for whatever reason. It looks, at least, we're too far away to be, but it does look to the naked eye that there's some more juice there. Yes, it might not crack up if the cloud is there, but the bowlers will stay fresh.
Okay, if there's juice there, and of course Indian team got the chance to have the roller, and I believe they went for a heavy roller, then probably the first hour should have been okay, but they've lost a wicket. Now how crucial is that?
Oh, very crucial, especially an experienced batsman like Murali Vijay. And again, what's disappointing is the manner he's getting out. Against Mitchell Stark, he got out both times in Adelaide, chasing the ball outside the off stump, no feet movement, and the area which was his strength in 2015 and 2014 when India went and played all those overseas tours. One of the reasons India did well in the batting department was because Murali Vijay showed a lot of patience, and his game plan was to leave a lot of balls outside the off stump, and whenever there were shots offered on the back foot, he would play that. And as the innings progressed, I think he got to play a lot more shots. Whereas what's leading to his downfall, whether you talk about England or you talk about in Adelaide, he's chasing and playing away from the body. And here today, if you see his body weight, it was back. And when someone like Mitchell Stark, who was getting the ball into the right-hander, you have to transfer your body weight in front so that you're in control of your bat. The bat and pad gap won't be created if your body weight is going forward. So he'll be really disappointed, and the task is cut out, because the Indian tail in this match is not so good. So it's very important for the top 6-7 batsmen to contribute, and if you lose early wickets, then the pressure will again come on Virat Kohli, Ajinkya Rahane, which is not a great place to be.
One thing is to get out, the other is the way you get out. As he talks about that gaping hole there, something for Murali Vijay to work on.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what we've been talking about, that this is something which has crept into his batting in a big way, not even crept in, you have to say it's snuck in a big way, because one of the most pleasing players to watch. And Haydos always talks about, Matty Hayden always talks about the fact that you don't get a reward for leaving deliveries, but what you do later on is that you encash on the fact that you're thereabouts, and then you get the runs. And that's exactly what, as Laxman rightly put, his strength was to leave deliveries. Even 3.5 stumps, he had the ability to leave. Now he's going for 8.5 and getting out. Balls pitched at 8.5. Wow. So that's what has come into his. This footwork was always there. It was not as if he was a Ricky Ponting or a Rahul Dravid who took his front foot, showing the base of the shoe. But somebody like a Murali Vijay, for all his strength, the strength is gone. So now if you're doing that, then actually you're creating a lot of trouble for yourself and for your team.
As good as having your one hand tied if you lose out on one of your greatest strength, which was leave the ball for Murali Vijay. Okay, plenty of questions coming in from viewers who are watching our broadcast, and these are related to Murali Vijay. I'm told Jahidul Ahmed wants to know, sir, don't you feel Mayank as opener is better? Isn't it time to move ahead of Vijay? Which one of you?
Okay, I think this will be a very important test match for Murali Vijay. He'll probably get one more opportunity in the second innings, because Prithvi Shaw will be recovering for the third test match. So I think if Murali Vijay has to establish himself back in the playing 11, I think it would be the last test innings in Perth. So I think it's very important for Murali Vijay to stick to his strength and use all his experience, because I feel that he can still contribute to the Indian team with the bat. But I think if he doesn't get runs, then I think his place will be under scrutiny.
Okay, probably the last chance that Murali Vijay has to impress the fans, the selectors, and let's take a look at how he's been performing in away test matches, and that was a perennial issue with him, which is the reason that he was sent back from England as well in the middle of the tour. Now look at that, his average is just 12 in the 13 innings that he's played in away test matches. For KL Rahul, that's slightly better at 23.50, but again, for a top order batsman, not something to write home about, but 12 is Murali Vijay's average, and that is an area of concern. I'll take this question to Damien. This was Murali Kartik, VVS Laxman, both of them mentioned he had this ability to leave the ball rather well. Does that become even more important on a pitch like this, which is really bouncy, where even good length balls then can go over the stump? This was the quality that he needed the most on this particular track?
Of course, and also it's crucial, isn't it? Before lunch, you get in and you just got to get through it. And Matthew Hayden's right. It's leaving the ball and building your innings. Getting a base of understanding the wicket and the conditions. And I think especially against Stark. I mean, for India, okay, Stark is down. He hasn't been at his best with his pace and form. Do not let him back in the game here and let him get 5 wickets, because then he'll get his confidence back. And I think as bowlers have game plans, so does batsmen. And I think walking out to face Stark, you know what he's going to try and do. He's going to try and bowl you at LBW. And I think that's one of the ones is leave, be patient. As Laxman said, get forward, get your weight going forward and frustrate him. And, coming out and trying to play the shots where you get bowled, I just think it's one of those ones, isn't it? You look at that and go, you don't want your openers getting bowled early on off the new bowlers.
Yeah, it doesn't do too much for the confidence of the batsmen that are sitting in the dressing room. Another question coming in from a viewer, and this is with regards to KL Rahul. Krish wants to know, will T20 KL Rahul or
question.
Test Rahul turn up?
And that's something which,
Even you're waiting for an answer.
Not waiting for an answer. I'm not looking at KL Rahul as a T20 or a Test player. I just want to see him and both these batsmen to see at their best, because that's what they were. Sometimes they say, don't try and fix something which ain't broken. So for them, they had everything. As an opener, what are the attributes? It's not about going and flashing hard. There were very few Virender Sehwags in the world or Adam Gilchrist in the world. So what they could do, they were freaks of nature. Everybody can't do. You have to understand what your strengths are, and the strengths for Murali Vijay and KL Rahul was a rock solid technique which was outside the off stump, the ability to pick wisely when you're facing the new ball, because the new ball does do things. The new ball bowler is fresh, and that's why it's one of the toughest things to do. So when you go there and you have all those attributes, and then from there you try and become something else or get into a muddle in your head. At the end of the day, it's all in the head. You're getting into a muddle because of the choices you're making in life and as well as in cricket. And here, both these batsmen, I feel, from the 50 plus averages which they had abroad, it's come down drastically because these things have crept in. So for what I want to see from KL Rahul is clarity in his thinking. Whether he wants to play the T20 way or the Test way, that's up to him. That's a game plan which he chooses. I just want clarity in him.
I think lovely question from Krish, and if someone like Krish who's watching the game or followed the way KL Rahul has played so far in his career, if he's been able to watch and see very clearly that we don't know which approach he's going to take, that shows that no one is clear, including KL Rahul in his mind, what is his approach. Kartik talked about Gilchrist, Kartik talked about Virender Sehwag, but they had a method how to go about, and everyone knew that this was Virender Sehwag's method, this was Adam Gilchrist's method, and every batsman who shows consistency and longevity has a method of how he approaches or builds his innings and scores. And there are certain strengths which he has, there are certain areas where he's not comfortable, and he makes sure that he doesn't get out in those areas, and whenever the opportunity arises in the areas of strength, he'll capitalize on it. But at the moment, I don't know whether KL Rahul himself knows what is his way of batting in Test match cricket. We know that he's got a game plan in T20 or one days, but he himself doesn't know what is his way of playing and getting and accumulating runs in Test match cricket. But leaving the ball will be very, very crucial for KL Rahul. He can go out and play all the shots in the book, but leaving the ball will be the most crucial element if you have to succeed in this Test match.
We have another question for KL Rahul. What you're effectively saying is, go for T20 or go for Test approach, up to you, but just decide which one you want.
Absolutely, and that is very important for any batsman, because if there is no clarity of thought in the batsman's mind, then the mind will be very, very restless. While we emphasize a lot on technique, but ultimately when you have to play and against quality bowlers on challenging wickets like what we are seeing in Perth, you have to have a blank mind. So when you have a blank mind, you have to be strong subconsciously. What is your approach? And it works. The mind should work on an autopilot. At the moment, his subconscious mind or his mind is confused. So then you'll always be slow in getting into positions. Your instincts will be slow, your reflexes will be slow, and that's when you get into problems. So I think it's very important for KL Rahul to know what is his approach and back that approach, whatever that approach may be. But to get runs on this wicket, he has to spend a lot of time. You cannot afford to just throw your bat around and you're thinking that in 2 hours or 3 hours I'm going to get 100. It will not happen on this wicket.
Not on this particular pitch is what VVS is saying. We'll have that question back up again. And that was, if I read it correctly, Raghu Nandan wants to know, is Rahane worth trying at top of the order and Rahul at 6? Change can be precious. I'll take that question to Damien. Damien, do you think it's worth a try? Take Rahane top of the order?
Well, I think if they try different things, if they see it that way. I mean, we've seen that, a lot of guys, in one-day cricket as well, changing the batting lineup. It's trying to work out what your best combination is, your top 6 and being comfortable. And obviously, different positions to bat in, different ways to approach it as well, from opening the batting. I've never opened a batting in the Test cricket, so it's one of the ones that, Matthew Hayden, these guys say, we do all the work at the top of the order. We're the most precious people because we get the shine off the ball for you to come in. So it's one of those ones. But your technique needs to be crucial, as we saw now. You need to be patient, be able to leave the ball, pick length, and it's just a different way to go about it.
Okay, let me throw this to someone who's batted in the lower order at number 6 as well as opened the innings.
I think opening is a specialist job. You have to have a mindset to be successful as an opener. But if you, I think it was Raghu who asked that question. Now Raghu has to understand that Ajinkya Rahane is a middle order batsman. So you can't throw Ajinkya Rahane as an opener, especially in conditions.
As an opener for Bombay.
Yeah, but especially in these conditions, where you have to have a mindset of an opener. One of the reasons we did really well in 2003-04 series, which I feel was one of the best series for India in Australia, was all the middle order batsmen got runs. But it was because of the partnership between Akash and Sehwag, who invariably in all the matches laid the foundation for us. Now Sehwag had his own style, Akash had his own style, but they were openers. Even though Viru was a middle order batsman, but since 2002 he knew that he was going to open. So there's a specific mindset you have as an opener in Test match cricket. In one day cricket, in T20 cricket, it's a different ball game.
Yeah, because he opens in T20.
Yeah, but Test match cricket, it's a different temperament and mindset you require as an opener.
See, the only thing over here which I would say is that Ajinkya was an opener. That's how he started his career.
Yeah.
He was
in
not
the
a
long
middle order
format.
batsman. And this was something one day and T20 cricket came about later where he opened. But for him to be pushed into the opening slot, you need to be assured that you're going to get games there. It shouldn't be like what happened to Laxman, that you there and thereabouts and moved away. So somebody who's doing well in the middle order, although he was an opener, if you're going to assure him that you're one of the mainstays and you're going to be, yes, he's the vice captain, that your place is not up for grabs, then you give him that kind of security. Otherwise, I don't think there is any reason to bring Ajinkya Rahane up to from number 6 to...
Okay, Raghu, that's not happening. None of our experts...
Will never ever happen, Raghu. Don't worry about that.
Okay, let's take in some more questions coming in for VVS Laxman, Damien Martyn. This is question to VVS in particular. How much lead would it mean India be happy with?
First, they have to get close to the Australian total, because it's going to be challenging total. And for India, come close to the total posted by Australia, you have to have at least one big centurion and 2 guys who get half centuries. Otherwise, it will be tough. And if they can come close to and they can take a lead of 50 runs, it will be great for India. Because as the match progresses, batting 4th will be very, very tough. It won't be like what we saw in Adelaide. It's going to be very challenging on this wicket. The cracks are already opening. We saw a visual this morning session where you saw the crack, and which was not visible yesterday because of the grass cover, because of the heat. Now the grass has dried down. So I think it's going to be challenging. So coming close will be the first target, and if they get at least 50, 60, 70 runs more, it's a bonus.
Okay, Damien, I know Indian fans would expect the Indian team to take that lead, but realistically, do you see India go close to that total of 326?
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, that 320, I'm happy with over 300. It's going to be touch and go. I think this depends on bowling attack. We'll get back into form with this new ball. Can he break into that top order? As I've heard, the Indian tail is probably not as strong as it has been in the past. But any lead, India has to get close to Australia, because even if they make 280 and Australia lead by 50, as we just heard, that the batting on the last day is going to be very tough here. Even if you're chasing 200, I think it's still going to be tough because of the conditions, the cracks. I mean, depends on the weather going forward. There might be some rain. It depends on whether the heat will come back as well. But I just got a feeling that you don't want to be batting that last day chasing.
Right, but India have no choice. They have to bat last on this particular track. Okay, more questions coming in from various
unless and until
viewers.
we get a big lead. Unless and until we get a big lead.
You're saying as in get like a 200, 300 lead and then... Okay, this is a question to Murali Kartik. If you were the bowling coach of India, what would have been your strategy for cleaning up opposition's lower order?
Now, I mentioned this before, I'll mention it again. The crucial thing to keep reminding yourself as a bowler is that if I was good enough for the top order batsman, I'll be good enough for the tailenders. Just keep it tight. Just don't give, because the tailenders want runs with the bat. They're not used to the patience which is shown by the top order batsman. So play on their patience. Also, if you've got the odd one who can be needle, you need to do that. Yeah. And then know the kind of strengths of the tailenders as well, because there are certain people who will play shots, there will be certain who will be blockers. So try and crowd the blockers and create a false shot. Keep those the fields for the big shots of the tailenders, the shots which you know he's going to play, because more often than not they slog. From the time of Adam and Eve, I think the tailenders are used to slogging. They're not used to playing correctly. There are the odd few.
Yeah.
So you have to play with these kind of things. But the key thing is patience. You can't just think that you just roll your arm over and you'll clean them up. That doesn't happen all the time.
I'm just going back to something that you mentioned. The only way India is not going to bat last is if they get a healthy lead. Do you
Huge
expect
lead.
them to get like a
You never know. Look,
lead?
you never know. Virat is due for runs. And he'll be bubbling underneath. I'm looking for that glintometer in his eye, because that's what I measure what he's coming out with. There is a glint in his eye every time he walks out to bat. Ajinkya has looked good. Pujara, hopefully KL Rahul. You never know. I'm just keeping my fingers crossed. Big runs from Virat Kohli. You never know.
Okay.
Challenging runs.
Okay. That for that India would have to get like a 200-run lead. For that, maybe Virat Kohli double 100 would help if India were to do that. Do we have more questions, or can I just carry on? Okay, VVS, just on that subject that we were talking of India getting that lead. Mitchell Starc, I mean, he didn't look at his best in that first Test match. He looks the most dangerous when he brings the ball in. He's already started doing.
Yeah, I think that's what you expect from a class bowler. So Mitchell Starc or any player that, for that matter, if he didn't have a good Test match, I think he will be waiting for the next Test match or waiting for the next opportunity where he can showcase his talent. And you expect that Mitchell Starc would have been not happy with the way he contributed with the ball. Even though his figures didn't suggest that, we know that he was not in great rhythm. Couple of byes which was down wide outside the leg stump. You don't expect in Test match cricket from a class bowler like Mitchell Starc. So he must have worked hard on his bowling, probably got his wrist position right. And important thing for a left arm over the wicket bowler is to get the ball into the right-hander. That's when they are the most lethal, that's when they're the most potent bowlers. So I feel that it's great signs for Mitchell Starc and Australia. And in the past, the Indian batsmen have struggled whenever the ball came in when the left-arm seamer is bowling. So it's great news, because on the other side, you have Hazelwood and Pat Cummins who are not going to give anything easy. And the way Nathan Lyon bowled in Adelaide, I think he'll also be very dangerous on this wicket, where the length he bowls, I think he'll get more. He'll get more bounce. Not so much turn, but he'll definitely get more bounce on the wicket.
Aaron Finch actually said right at the end of the day's play, he said that Nathan Lyon would be the guy to watch out for. We're already looking forward to him to be bowling on day 2. But a quick question to Damien, with the way the pitch is behaving and with the cracks in the mind, would you say Hazelwood could be the bowler too, especially with the lengths that he bowls? He could be the one to watch out for?
Yes, definitely. He's got that McGrath sort of look, hasn't he, and his lengths. I mean, I think Starc early on, the new ball is dangerous, and then it goes a bit quiet for him until later on. And I think Hazelwood is the guy all day, and he'll just bowl lengths. You have to bowl a bit fuller here, and I think if he gets his line, he's one of those players that you just don't know. You know, you're going forward, you're going back. He's in that sort of area where it makes you hard to think how you're going to bat against him. So that's a big one. And also, as you mentioned, Lyon, I think. Murali will love this because we picked the spinner, so but I think the spinner can play a crucial role as well of wickets later on with the bounce and pace.
Okay, will India take a lead or will Australia maintain their lead? Now that's a question that will only get answered a little later. For the moment, we'll take a look at the lead in our contest, which is called Fab 4. How are our 3 experts performing? Quickly to run you through the rules, and this is our own fantasy league in which each run by the player gets 1 point, 50 runs get you a 10-point bonus, and 100 runs get 20 points. So essentially 10-point bonus every 50 runs, and then each wicket by a player 20 points, 3-wicket haul 10 bonus, 5-wicket haul 20 bonus. The bowler with the best strike rate for the day also gets you 20 bonus points. Each catch, direct hit, run out gets you 10 points. A joint effort catch or a run out gets you 5 points for each player involved. Now points a player earns is for that particular day only. Experts playing the game will earn points every day, and then at the end of the Test match we'll collate all of it and then decide the winner. At the end of day 1, I remember it was Murali Kartik who was leading. Do you remember the players that you picked for
the second day?
Yeah.
Yes, Murali Vijay, Ishant Sharma, Hazelwood and Virat Kohli were the ones I picked.
Okay, and that is how they've performed. Ishant Sharma has got you 40 points.
But shouldn't he be getting more points for getting 3 wickets?
Yes, the bonus, but now that's happened, spilled over to day 2. Now they'll have to look at whether it
Can you
can
show
be
the
looked at.
rules
We-
and against
So 3-wicket haul.
So
today-
you know, he's got a
3-wicket
point.
haul.
But today he didn't get 3 wickets.
But we're
It was
just looking
yesterday.
at just today. So if you do those 3 wickets
Kartik always has this habit of creating some.
on a particular day.
Look, I read the lines properly. Yeah.
Valid question. Valid question. We just sent a clarification.
That's why the
saying it
umpires
has to be-
always used to be scared when Kartik used to play a match.
Why is that?
They have to make sure that all the rules they know. They're sure of all the rules.
Okay. Our leader from day 1 has got 40 points thanks to Ishant Sharma. VVS Laxman, let's see how you've performed. And you also went with an Indian bowler, I remember. And then KL Rahul is still there. Virat yet to come. Bumrah has given you 20 points. And Hazelwood, of course, he's still to perform. So plenty there for you
I
to get.
expected 20 runs from Hazelwood. He didn't get that.
Yeah, that didn't happen. He very well could have. 21 points. Okay. Damien Martyn's turn. Let's see how he's performed up until lunch. And he went with Mitchell Stark. Already given him 26 points with the batting and the bowling. And then you got Hazelwood, Virat and Murali Vijay yet to score. Murali Vijay, bad choice, I'd have to say. But 26 points. 26 points. He's the leader. He's the leader of
No,
the...
I'm 40.
You're 40, sorry. 40, 26 and VVS. And Okay, so let's quickly take a look at the leaderboard, then we'll have an idea who's on top. Murali Kartik with 40 points right on top there, followed by Damien Martyn with 120. Okay, this is a combined total of the 2 days, so 155. Way on top, 128 for Damien Martyn, VVS Laxman 96. But you know, as you know,
I just want the
VVS
Indian
Laxman-
tailenders to bat like Murali Kartik. Contribute like like Murali Kartik.
Okay, completely out of time. Players are out for the second session on day 2 of the Perth Test match. VVS Laxman, Murali Kartik, thanks so much for joining us. Damien Martyn, thanks so much for your company. We'll have you guys back during the tea time interval. For the moment, that's all that we have for you. Maruti Suzuki brought to you by ESPN Cricinfo Match Day.